I pay my respects to the Lord Buddha, the self-enlightened, perfectly enlightened Buddha, the Dhamma and the Sangha, and also extend my greetings to the Sangha members today and to all of you. I extend my blessings to you, the lay practitioners who've gathered here today. Please sit comfortably and meditate while you listen to me. Let go of all your worries and concerns and make your mind peaceful. Please let go of the past, all those thoughts about events that have already happened, and all those thoughts about the future. Keep your attention in the present moment. The future is uncertain. Meditate on the present moment and know your mind right now. Why do we need to know our mind? Because that's where good and evil begin. They begin from the mind. All the things we do in life, the wealth we accumulate, and the experiences we have on the outside, they remain external. What we need to develop is our internal wealth through cultivating skillful and wholesome qualities of mind. The Buddha was one with great metta, goodwill, and compassion. And because of his great wisdom, he was able to teach the Dhamma for the benefit of all beings. We're cultivating this quality of metta, goodwill, following in his footsteps. And we extend our goodwill to all beings everywhere. You'll notice when your mind has metta, has goodwill, then it settles down easily, becomes peaceful, and we can develop qualities of samadhi, one-pointedness or firmness of mind. The Buddha taught us to cultivate sila, samadhi and panya, morality, meditation and wisdom, to cultivate wholesome qualities of mind through our practice. Because we're all looking for and seeking a way out of stress and suffering. So we need to develop goodness or merit. A good person who is seeking to cultivate or develop merit will do evil with difficulty. A person who is evil will do good with difficulty. We already have accumulated much wealth in our life, material success and happiness. But there's one danger with this. It can lead to indulgence, and we can fritter away our time, spend our time in ways that don't really benefit us. What we need to do is cultivate this internal wealth so that we can experience a deeper, more lasting kind of happiness. Out of the wholesome and skillful qualities we develop, we will attain good health, beauty, material wealth, but more importantly, inner wealth. Because the external wealth and beauty that we can attain in this world is very uncertain, unreliable. But the inner wealth that comes through the practice of Dhamma is something that we can really depend on and seek refuge in. Punyani paraloka samim patita honti paninanti. We have to really cultivate wholesome qualities or meritorious qualities of mind that will bring us happiness. So put effort into cultivating mindfulness, awareness, wisdom and understanding. The first person to do this in the Buddhist religion after the Buddha was Venerable Kondanya. We call him Anya Kondanya. He was the first student of the Buddha to gain the Dhamma eye, to gain insight into the true nature of conditions. And when he did this, listening to the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta, the Buddha declared, Kondanya knows. What did Kondanya know? He knew the conditioned nature of this world, that it's subject to arising and ceasing. And this is what gave rise to the light of wisdom, purified his mind from delusion, and gave rise to the light of wisdom, which is brighter than any other kind of light in the world. We all need to practice in the same way by cultivating this Noble Eightfold Path, mindfulness and wisdom. We have to focus our attention on this body and mind, what we call Rupa Dhamma, physicality, Nama Dhamma, mentality, to really see that the true nature or the conditioned nature of physicality and mentality. When we train our minds to pay attention and really see the true nature of this body and mind, then we will know the whole world. This is the quality we call lokavidu, one who knows the world. Knowing the world means to see and accept the way things are, without delusion, without resistance. Just to know this is the way things are. Everything is subject to a change. All conditions change. All conditions are unsatisfactory because of that. All conditions are not self. What did the Buddha know? He knew the nature of the way things are. He knew that this world is made up of the four elements: water, earth, fire and air. When you die, you can't take anything with you, because these four elements don't belong to a person. They're not a self or a person. They're just part of the world. So when we die, we leave them behind. These four elements are not good or bad. They're not happy, they're not sad. We are the ones who experience these moods, these delusions, these thoughts, these views, and we take over the four elements, and then we suffer because of it. We mistakenly believe these four elements belong to us, but they don't. They just exist in nature. We rely on them. We call them the great elements, the Mahabhuta Rupa, and we rely on them. So we have a body and we can go here and go there and do many things. But they don't actually belong to anyone because they're not self. Everyone must die. They can't take these four elements with them when they die. Even the Buddha died. But before he died, he penetrated, his wisdom penetrated the true nature of conditions of the world, and he attained Nibbana. So when he died, we say he attained Parinibbana. But he still left the four elements behind. He didn't take them with him. He knew the nature of conditions, that they're not to be clung to as self. He knew that life is impermanent, it's unsatisfactory, it's not self. He knew that the world is an uncertain place and shouldn't be clung to. Our teacher, Luang used to say, wherever there's birth, there'll be death. Whatever is born must die. Whatever arises must cease. Where there's no birth, then there's no death. It was the Buddha's quest to find that which was beyond birth and death. That's what he realized when we say he realized the Dhamma or attained Nibbana. He realized that which was not born and that which did not die. When he taught the first 5 ascetics, when he gave that first teaching, the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta, he told them that he had now experienced his last birth. Once the Buddha dies, he would not be born again. This is the culmination of the practice. On the night of his enlightenment, he meditated under the Bodhi tree, and the first knowledge that came to him was the knowledge of the recollection of past lives, Pubbeni Vasanu Satayana. Not just a few lives or hundreds of lives, but infinite numbers of lives he could recollect going back. And he could see the suffering of endless birth and death, birth and death. So of course he was looking for something beyond birth and death. And as he carried on meditating through the night, the second knowledge that came to him, Jutupapadayana, was the knowledge of karma, cause and effect, how beings are born and die according to the karma they've made. Skillful karma, good karma, leads to a rebirth in a good destination. Unskillful karma may lead to rebirth in an unpleasant destination. The final knowledge he gained on the night of his enlightenment was asavakaya jnana, the knowledge of the end of the asavas, the mental defilements that bind us to the world, to this process or this cycle of birth and death. Once those mental defilements had been abandoned, his mind was purified. He experienced the light of wisdom. So he was able to say that the light of wisdom, the wisdom that comes from abandoning the mental defilements, is brighter, more radiant than any other kind of light in this universe. There's nothing equal to it. So we say it's the best or the highest. This wisdom comes about through cultivating the path, the Noble Eightfold Path, Sila, Samadhi, Panya. It comes about through developing enough mindfulness and wisdom to really penetrate and see the true nature of conditions, physical conditions, mental conditions in this world, to remove delusion, to understand what is suffering, its cause, experience the end of suffering. You could say practicing this way for the end of suffering is our duty. Dhamma, or the practice of Dhamma, is a duty. It's something that we should do, something we need to do. When you say, what is your duty? Your duty is to practice Dhamma. The heart of that duty is cultivating awareness of reality, of the way things are. You could say that awareness is the Buddha. The Buddha is awareness. Most of the time we put our effort and energy into seeking worldly happiness. But any kind of pleasant experience, pleasure and happiness that we have in the world with our senses is temporary. When we die, we can't take it with us. Sabbe sankhara anicca, all conditions are impermanent, physical and mental. Sabbe sankhara dukkha, all conditions are suffering. Sabbe Dhamma anatta, all Dhammas are not self. Why did the Buddha teach us to do good, to practice in this way? It's because he wanted the best for us. He wanted us to free our mind from the mental defilements that cause us suffering. He wanted us to be free from delusion. So he encouraged us to cultivate Sila, Samadhi, Panya. If we're monks, this is what we call the Samana Dhamma. As a layperson, we often describe the practice as Dana, Sila, Bhavana. Because lay people are still living in the world, earning a living with families and so on. So they need to practice Dana, Sila and Bhavana to cultivate insight and wisdom. But whether you call it Sila, Samadhi, Panya or Dana, Sila, Bhavana, the practice of the Dhamma is our duty. It's the most important thing for us. If we practice a little, we'll get a little bit of results, small results. If we practice a lot, we'll get large results. We'll get more results. You could say practicing the Dhamma is like cultivating skillful habits, cultivating the same kind of habits that the Buddha cultivated. We already know what the habits of the world are like because we've been developing them, and they've led to lots of suffering and stress in the past. Now, out of our faith in the Buddha Dhamma Sangha, we're cultivating the habits of a Dhamma practitioner. We learn how to meditate, we learn how to keep precepts, we learn how to practice generosity. These are the kind of good habits that if we cultivate will lead to wisdom and then end our suffering. And that will be the final result. The purpose of the practice of Dhamma, the practice of meditation, is not for cultivating psychic powers or special abilities or miraculous powers. Its purpose is to free us from suffering. And to do that, we have to abandon the evil, unwholesome desires that we get caught into. It's karma that differentiates between different beings. Karma is intentional action. So what intentional action we perform, we follow, will have its results. And that's what separates between different people and different beings in different realms. When we make merit or skillful karma, it leads to very attractive qualities arising in our mind, and these are often reflected externally as well. Leads to happiness, leads to progress, leads our life to progress in a good way. The practice of the Dhamma gives its results continuously, in the present and in the future. And this is just a law of nature. Good actions, skillful actions lead to good results. Bad actions lead to bad results. Nobody can escape the results of karma. If you make unskillful karma, you'll have to experience those results. There's no way around it. There's many different kinds of karma we make, good and bad. Upatampapaka karma is supportive karma, but it can be good and bad. You can make a lot of karma, and then just as you're doing something good, the supportive karma that arises may obstruct you from experiencing the fruits of that goodness because you've done something unskillful in the past. We can make good karma, and that supports us as we're making more good karma, but we can, having made bad karma, we can experience obstructive karma coming up, so we can't experience the happiness that we were expecting. This can happen this life and the next. So when you reflect on this, it makes you heedful, careful. You could compare it to the modern justice system. We have laws, courts, and the courts will decide who's guilty, who's innocent, and they'll maybe punish the guilty. Karma is a bit like that, except for there's no way of avoiding it, and you can't hide from it. Skillful actions lead to happiness. Unskillful actions lead to suffering. We all know the stories of those who have done evil in the past. We summarize them and say doing evil is like being a Devadatta, somebody who's just intent on doing unskillful things. What happened to Devadatta? When he died, he was reborn in a hell realm. When we make good karma, it means practicing generosity, living in a moral way, keeping precepts, practicing, cultivating mindfulness and insight, developing meditation. These result in their own good way. Practicing the Dhamma leads to rebirth in what we say is Sukhati realm, a realm of happy destination, both in the present, brings us a sense of well-being and happiness in the present, and in the future. Dukkati means an unhappy destination. So when you intend your mind on unwholesome thoughts and actions rooted in greed, anger and delusion, it results in unhappiness here and now and in the future. When our mind opens up to cultivating the path of Dhamma, good intentions, skillful intentions, then many good qualities arise. One of them is an awareness of those who have helped us, those people in our lives who have helped us. When your mind inclines towards merit and goodness, you'll notice who has helped you, and it will result in the arising of gratitude and a desire to help those who have helped us. So who has helped us most? Well, in the beginning of our life, it's always our parents, our mother and father. They've helped us get to where we are today. So for a Dhamma practitioner, it's normal to have feelings of gratitude and a wish to give something back to parents, to look after them. The Buddha's mother gave birth to him, and he always had gratitude to her, even though she died when he was just a baby. She was reborn in heaven as a result of her merit, and he didn't neglect her. Because of his psychic powers, his good samadhi, he was able to go to the heaven realm and teach his mother. One of the ways you refer to somebody who has the mind of a deva, even though their body is a human body, is a manusa deva. And there are those people in this world who are like devas, like heavenly beings, even though they're still a human being living in the human realm. And the Buddha was like that, so he could teach his mother even though she was in the heaven realm. Birth in the heaven realm is spontaneous. It begins when you make good karma in this life, when your mind is set on cultivating wholesome intentions. It's like spontaneous birth in a heaven realm, isn't it? Gives rise to instant happiness, sense of well-being, brightens your mind. Birth in the heaven realm is spontaneous, just as birth in the hell realm is spontaneous. So when we practice the Dhamma, we listen to the Dhamma, it opens our eyes to the truth, and this will lead to gradually to a change in our mind for the better. It'll lead us to abandon evil and to cultivate good, and this will have its results both here and now and in the future. The Buddha was teacher of humans and gods. He was the knower of the worlds, so he knew these truths and was able to explain and teach them to us. So just as we have gratitude to our parents, we have gratitude to the Buddha. We have gratitude to our teachers, those who show us the way and remind us of the way, explain the way to us. If we didn't have a mother or father, we wouldn't be here today. If we didn't have the Buddha, we didn't have our teachers, we wouldn't know how to practice the Dhamma. So you could say all these people who have helped us, they've given us everything. And you could say it all comes from love. Parents help us out of love. Teachers help us out of love, loving kindness. This is how we get to where we are today. Every parent will hope that their child becomes successful, happy, healthy, be a good person. So they keep giving them support. That's why we call parents Bupakari. It means those who have supported us in the past. And then later on we see what we can do to give something back to them. Maybe when they're older, we recognize that they've helped us in the past, so then we try to help them in return. This is how a well-developed mind behaves. We, having recognized those who have helped us, we try to give something back to them. The love of a parent doesn't change whether their child is a male, female, healthy, ill, whatever their character, that love is pretty certain. The child can be confident of the parent's love. So it's something that very special. It's a very special thing to acknowledge the love of parents in our lives. And all that they want is for us to be good and to be successful and to be happy. Practicing the Dhamma is one way that we do that. When we practice the Dhamma, we're making good karma, we're developing ourselves in a good way, so we're fulfilling our parents' aspiration. So on this occasion that we've come together, I've come to visit you. I've had the opportunity to share some Dhamma teachings with you, so I hope that this is of benefit to you. And I wish now that you may continue to live your lives happily and successfully. May you have long, healthy lives, and may you all be free from suffering.
Sadhu